Now, Hillary Clinton means business on her first trip as Secretary of State. She is in Mumbai, the financial capital, where a large contingent of India's best CEOs are set to meet with her. In an exclusive interview, Anand Mahindra told Shelly Chopra what the future of Indo-US business ties could be.
Frankly, there was a little concern over how the Obama administration would treat India and view it as a business partner. You remember there was all this concern over protectionism, visa caps, and so on. So I believe this is an important trip because the signals that Secretary Clinton gives out on this trip are going to try and clear that little haze that lies around the roadmap for the Obama administration as far as India is concerned.
And she's going to certainly step beyond just talking to CEOs and also talk to policymakers eventually to get a sense of how, business happens here. And considering she started with Mumbai, the financial capital, that also perhaps says a lot. Just interpret for us and our viewers, what does the business community really want in terms of a new shape to Indo-US trade relations?
First and foremost, as I said, they want a clear signal that India is important and that India is not simply seen as some kind of sweatshop which is replacing US jobs and is a threat and has to be protected with barriers. They want a clear signal that there is going to be two-way trade, there's going to be an increase in two-way trade. So the signaling effect is the most important. Then, of course, there is the nuclear treaty which we signed and which people are impatient to see the results of. There was a hope, for example, that there would be clearer access to technology, high technology items. I believe there's been a little disappointment up to now. So that's one of the things that one ought to be asking Secretary Clinton, that is there going to be that positive byproduct that was hoped for? When is that going to happen?
But I just want to get a sense from you, as India Inc., you feel the whole protectionist attitude so far, first 6 months, people could say 6 months too late or too early, in her trip to India, but how do you think the signal could be really put out about this whole outsourcing protectionism issue?
If you remember, when she was a senator, she was a little ambivalent about this. She wanted to encourage Indian investment, but her constituency used to always worry about the job losses, particularly IT job losses. So she would always sound ambivalent about this. I think she has to give a very clear statement out that they are not only looking at India as a market, but that they are not going to be protectionist, whether it is through tariff or non-tariff barriers. There have to be very clear statements on her side which recognizes that Indian IT makes American industry competitive and that they recognize that. That kind of clarity of speech, I think, is required from her.
Do you think the slowdown will make it harder for her to give that comment out? Because, we're seeing the kind of job losses the United States continues to see, which would then mean that it's not going to be very easy for her politically to send out that message this time.
She's tried to run a balance before, and she has to do it now. No pain, no gain for her in this relationship. What she has to come and say is that we recognize the strength that IT has brought and what it's brought to India and how it helps US companies. What she must say at the same time is that we want to look for Indian investment in the US which creates jobs. That's not something beyond the realm of possibility. If you really look at the investment flows, I think there was something like 9 billion investment into India, but 3.7 from India into the US. So when you look at the maturity of Indian companies and their appetite to grow overseas, there is a real possibility that we would look very, very positively.
Tuba.com